Hi, my name is Mitch Feros. I'm the CEO of Eliigo. We crowdsource feedback and provide insights to users and companies using our app. I'm really excited to share with you our journey today. Risk mitigation, it's massive. And that's exactly what the prototyping is. It's risk mitigation, it's iterating your development. It's just a smarter way to do things. You don't have to work harder, you work smarter. You save yourself time and money by putting in the initial effort. Even that whole prototype stage, there's a lot of behind the scenes. So, I mean, you're talking about lines and lines and lines of code, and every line means something, and every line means something else, and they all interlock. And I don't have a computer science background. So, for me, it's like, oh, this is in my head, let's just build this. But there's a million steps that you need to build to get there. And those million steps, if you build them and they're wrong, it's a very costly mistake to have to knock the steps down and rebuild them. So the prototype lets you essentially build the landings for the steps and go, okay, this is what this will look like, this is what this will look like, this is what this will look like. Is that what you want? Is that what you're imagining in your head? And probably the most important question and why you would do that is, will the user respond to the landings you set in place? And once you answer that question, yes they will, or no they won't, this is actually not what we'd envision, or you give it to someone else to look at and you get a fresh set of eyes on it and they go, why would you do this? Or how come you haven't done this? Then you can adjust the landings, and once you've got it right, you build the steps. That's probably the best way I can think about telling it, because you're literally talking about lines and lines and lines and lines of code, and once they're all built, that's time and money that you've spent, and if they're wrong, you're just paying more money and spending more time to correct them. Whereas if you get the framework right, you get the prototype right, you let people use the product in its initial stages, and it doesn't have to be flashy, it just needs to allude to what you're trying to achieve. And these people will say, this is how I feel about this, or I understand what you're trying to do, or I would like to see this. It might be something you haven't even thought of. I mean, you're building something for a customer, and you need to reach that person. They need to look at it and know intuitively what it is, because if it's confusing, it's just going to cause all kinds of problems. So the actual user experience is a whole different ballgame. So that's pretty critical early on. Like the amount of back and forth between whether we should have one tap versus two taps. That's something you don't think of when you're planning out what it's going to look like. You don't think about that. And the colors of the icons and what the logo is going to be and all this stuff. And do you need a border in between the two posts or not? And when you click it, are you going to have a border? All that stuff needs to be fleshed out in the prototype phase. You get the framework together and then you start building on the framework. If you just build the app, you're going to have crashes. You're going to have it's just not going to work. If you don't iterate, you're just going to rack up this bill, and it's going to cost you twice as much to implement the changes, and you won't even get the finished product. And so from experience in that regard, we wouldn't be where we are today. If we'd gone through and built it, we would have had a large debt. We wouldn't be where we are here today. We would have had to cut our losses, and we would have been looking at thousands upon thousands of dollars with nothing to show.